This is Demons to Diamonds. It was originally released on the Atari 2600, you know, the Atari VCS. I'm playing it on the PlayStation 4, courtesy of the Atari 50 collection, currently provided by the Maryland Library System. This is the first video game, this is one of the first video games I've ever played, period. As in, Dad brings home the wood grain video computer system, and there were like, what, four, maybe five video games included in the bundle that he brought home. River Raid, Pac-Man, yes, the infamous Atari version of Pac-Man. Combat, Armored Assault, Air Sea Battle is one of those games, and this, which was a game that you played with paddle controllers. See the number 3 on the top right hand corner of the screen there? Those are the controllers you use to play this game. Which, it's like a, in case you're wondering, it's like a doorknob. Imagine a deck of cards with a doorknob on top of it, and you spin the doorknob left or right, clockwise or counterclockwise, basically, to move your character to the left or right side of the screen. Like Pong, you know how it is. Of course, your characters are on the top and the bottom of the screen, so you're moving them left to right while using the little doorknob controllers. There's a fire button underneath the doorknob on the underneath those paddle controllers. So again, if you're spinning a doorknob, it makes sense. You press the button to fire your gun. This is apparently a game designed for preteens. In fact, let me go back to the main menu because as was explained here on the Atari 50 collection, go back. Let's see, it's a shooting gallery. Yeah, the idea is that you were basically had sort of a sliding turret, and you can shoot targets, moving targets, which will be explained a bit later. It's not even a side-scrolling game. It's a single screen shooter that was supposed to be a target shooting game, except you're only moving to the left or right. You're not moving up and down. So it's not a game like Duck Hunt, which you probably wouldn't be able to really do on the Atari now that I think about it. I mean, I'm sure there was some light gun technology they could have developed back in the early 80s. I mean, obviously Nintendo ended up developing in their own. Sega did too. But we're here playing the Atari games. My This part of video game history I'm sort of curious about because I don't before 1985 a lot of video game history is kind of fuzzy to me, which is one of the reasons why this collection exists. And arguably this is the reason why should exist for renting video games so people can play the classics. And well, not I this isn't the ideal way to play Demons to Diamonds because obviously this is a video game that works best on original hardware with the original controllers that were developed for this game, or at least the game that was made using controllers that aren't available here. There's you cannot simulate the paddle controls using a dual shock controller on the PlayStation 4. I have a third party controller I could be playing with, but it's a bit too finicky. I guess the best way to describe it is it's a bit too dummy. It's not responsive enough. So I'm gonna be playing with the PlayStation 4 controller, which is well, it's fine. It's just that I think my left stick's kind of flaky. But for a game like this, it's not gonna be a huge deal. But it would have been a liability if I were playing on my other controller, which was not as good. Gonna peek through the manual for a quick second here because I have to establish the rules. You use your controller to slide left and right across the field. You press the fire button to fire at the enemies. The longer you hold the button, the further the laser extends to the top or the bottom of the screen. Hit demons the same color, but I'm reading the right side of the screen underneath the number 2, in case you're wondering. Can I zoom in on that? Yeah, let's zoom in on that. Whoops. Yeah, let's zoom in on that. There we go. Hit demons the same color as your laser base to score points. When you hit a demon of your color, eventually it changes to a diamond. If you or your opponent can hit this diamond before it disappears, the one who hits it scores bonus points. I'm playing in single player mode, which means I'm basically playing against the AI, which isn't particularly sophisticated, obviously. When you hit a demon of your opponent's color, it transforms to a skull that shoots in both directions. You use a life every time you're struck by a skull's bullet. There are variations to this game that we will not be playing because again, this will be playing in single player mode for this particular video. And again, those are the paddle controllers I was talking about earlier. Can I zoom in? Yeah, I can zoom in closer. So you can see the layout of the paddle controllers here. Like I said, they're a doorknob and a fire button. underneath them. So, like I said, imagine a deck of cards basically with a doorknob on top of it. You can slide to the left or right, clockwise or counterclockwise. It's basically how it works. Turn the knob clockwise to move it right, turn it counterclockwise to move it left. The longer you hold the button, the longer the laser fires, that kind of thing. Skulls disappear after a while, and let's see, we can see the diamonds and the demons. The screen briefly flashes to signal the end of one wave and the start of another. Okay. So, okay, fine. Epilepsy warning, in case you're wondering. First, the demons are stationary. At first, the demons move slowly and the skulls are stationary, but as the game progresses, the demons pick up speed and the skulls move about. By the fifth wave, in the or when I'm playing a one-player game, the skulls are going to start moving around anyway. The skulls spontaneously appear. At first, they don't move, but by wave 3 in one-player games, they move up and down the screen. So that's going to make. Remember, you can't shoot them, so that's a liability. Demons move back and forth. They change color when they bump into either wall. They can also move up or down the screen into new rows when they hit the side walls. Each time you shoot all the demons on the screen, you get a new wave. And let's see. Anything else here? Use the game switch to choose. Yeah, variations. Now that's going to be explained a bit later. One player game, skulls fire bullets at normal speed, shoot often, and move quickly up and down the screen. There's also an easy mode where the skulls fire more slowly, don't fire as often, and take longer to move up and down the screen. Again, we're going to be playing both variations, but we'll start with the easy mode. Even though I have played this game before, it's just that my voice was a bit too loud, so you could. My voice wasn't really loud enough, so you couldn't really hear what I was saying. Let's see, here we go. Every time you hit a demon of your own color, you receive 1 to 8 points, depending on which row the demon occupies. So if you hit a demon that's right in front of you, it's worth 1 point. If you hit a demon on the other side of the screen, you get 8 points. Diamonds are worth 10 to 8 points, 10 times the value of the row it occupies. So again, the screen on the right hand side, you see the rows. So you see that diamond in the middle is on row 5, so it's worth 50 points. If it were on row 8, it'd be worth 80 points. I think I skipped something. Let me go back and see what that's. Bonus lives. Bonus lives, yeah, whatever. We'll worry about that later. Helpful hints. Create skulls as far as possible from your laser base. These are more likely to hit your opponent than you will, whatever. We remember we're playing one player mode. Aim at demons of your own color that are as far away as possible. They're worth more points than the ones that are nearby. Try to hit the diamond whenever you can. They're worth a lot of points. If you hit them consistently, your score goes up more quickly. Spontaneous skulls usually appear at the edge of rows. Don't spend too much time there. The safest position is just to the left or right of the center. So yeah, say near the middle of the screen, basically, to the left or right, I suppose. Take care when firing to the center of the screen. This is where demons first appear, and you can inadvertently hit an opponent while aiming at your own color. Yeah, that kind of thing. Since demons change color when they bump into the sides of the screen, you can actually end up hitting an opponent and making a skull there. Yeah. So again, you only want to hit the demons that are the same color as you. So you can move around the screen. Again, we're not playing with a doorknob, so unfortunately, this game is reasonably responsive with a PlayStation 4 controller, but it is kind of flaky, so we're going to kind of play safe. There's a lot of strategies you can employ a bit later. Like we can move and shoot simultaneously like this, but it's kind of flaky because you might accidentally hit a demon, so don't do that move too often. Whoop, see, I hit a white demon, so it transformed into a skull. So that was obviously a problem. So I'm only aiming for the red ones. This game also has a black and white. This game also has a black and white mode, so it was compatible with black and white TVs if you were one of those people who only had a black and white TV at grandma's house and you wanted to play your Atari games. So when that white demon hit the side of the screen, it changed color and changed rows. So that was my opportunity to actually shoot it. Oh, that was close. So we'll let those white demons hit the sides. We'll see what's up. But again, this is basically the entire game. It's shooting at demons that are your own color, which in my case is the red ones. Did I choose the wrong variation? I probably did. Yeah, I chose the skulls that shoot quickly. So these skull bullets are very fast. So that's going to be a problem later in the game. I guess I can play easy mode later, but I just wanted to establish the basics. This is the default mode basically. So again, if you kind of feather, whoops, accidentally hit a white demon there. If you feather the fire button, then yeah, you can limit the length of your bullet. We're good. I got one of the diamonds. That's cool. So I have to avoid that white one for a second. Remember, if you hit that white one, it transforms to a skull and starts shooting bullets at you. So that's going to be a problem. But that was one of the main problems with the game is that at some point you're just waiting for a demon to actually get to the side of the screen so you can safely shoot it and move on. It's not a huge deal. This game isn't particularly long or complicated. Whoops, that was bad. Okay, the skull disappeared, so that's good. Got it. Got it. That was a tough shot. I'm glad I made that one. Remember, apparently this game was supposed to be like a 2D version of a target shooting game for preteens. Which again, remember, this game came out in 1982, so a lot of younger gamers weren't that familiar with the rules of video games and how to control it, even though all you were using was a joystick with one button. So the idea was to make a game that was accessible, because this is the early '80s. There was still an interest in making accessible video games for kids. Although I never really thought of this as a kids game, but in retrospect, that kind of makes sense. It's just sort of easy to grasp, and now the skull's starting to float over to the side of the screen, so that could be a problem. Careful, that could have gone badly. Well, that was okay. That one disappears, so that's good. Oops. I'm getting relief. Yep. Ow. That was dangerous. So that could have gone poorly, but well, it did go poorly. I died, so I got one life left. Okay, we're good. Rat. Wow. Did I shoot that skull? I might have shot that skull, which means it's easier for me to clear the board if that's the case. So now I can do my sliding shot. Now, if there's nothing else on, no, there are no white enemies on that side of the screen, so I can do my sliding shot, which makes it easier for me to get those diamonds too, because they're really fast. Whoops, that was bad. Oh crap, that skull disappeared quickly. But the one on the bottom of the screen was really could have been a problem. And that one at the bottom of the screen could mess up my entire run. Got me. It's not. This is my last life. Careful. I wasn't even trying to hit the diamonds at some point. It seemed like a liability. But I do think the idea of not shooting everything on screen and making yeah, the game punishing you for a bad shot, that's a legitimately interesting mechanic. I'll be the first to admit that. But that's the entire game, kids. I mean, that's look, it was the early '80s. We didn't know any better. Inflation was high. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just kind of trying to make do. Can't imagine the video game industry surviving that much inflation too. But the American industry just crashed a couple of years after this game because there were too many bad games on these consoles getting released, flooding the market with garbage. American Kusige, one could say. So where are the variations? Quit. What were the controls? Let me make sure I got that. Yeah, basic controls like you would expect. And you can't change. Yeah, you can't change You can't recalibrate the controls so that they're more sensitive. So that's kind of a problem. Yeah, select game variation. So let's try slow skulls. So yeah, the default mode was very hard. But on the Atari 2600, you would hit the difficulty button. So different variations would appear on the screen, like at the top right there where it says number 4. If you kept pressing the difficulty button, not the difficulty button, I think there was like a game select button. In fact, that might show up. Let me go to the manual, see if that's explained. I want to say it is, yeah. It contains 6 game variations, yeah. I want to say there was a button on the console that lets you select game modes. I think there was a select button on the controller, not on the controller. I want to say there was a select button on the console, like on the NES. There's a select button on the NES. Here it was actually on the console. And you would press the select button. As soon as you put the cartridge in the machine, it would look like this. But then you would have to press the select button. Whoops. Let me restart the game. Quit. So you put the cartridge in the control. You put the cartridge in the console, but then you would select the variations. So you would press the select button to cycle through the variations, and you'd see at the top left-hand corner of the screen the variation. The number shows you what are the properties of the game you're going to select. What are the mutators, I guess. So version 4 single player mode with slow skulls. But you need the manual to know this because it's not really that obvious. But there aren't that many variations to the game, unfortunately. But you can't shoot until you actually start the game. So you can't just press the fire button. The idea is once the game starts, then you'll be able to begin shooting. So everyone moves more slowly here, and you'll see how slow the bullets are once the skulls start showing up. See, it's a much slower bullet. So that's easy mode for Demons to Diamonds. But there are very few sound effects. The sound that's made when you get shot's actually kind of cool, but yeah, it's a reverb. Not a reverb, a reverberating, echoing doom sound. I think it was called in the manual. What did they call that? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, deep re-echoing doom bong sounds. I guess it's supposed to be a bong. It's supposed to be a gong, but whatever. A deep re-echoing doom bong. Well, there's a reference for you. So yeah, that is the entire experience of Demons to Diamonds. I mean, again, when you're a kid, you wouldn't play this game for hours on end, like Fortnite, I guess, or Skyrim in my case. It's a game that you played for like 5 minutes, maybe 10, if you were really feeling the oats and you think you can go deep, but it ain't that deep, son. It's a game you played and then you went outside and played something else, or maybe you switched games. A collection of mini games. That's Demons to Diamonds. I don't think there's no documentary information on this, which is kind of annoying, but are there supposed to be some videos here? I want to say there are. Yeah, there's supposed to be some videos here, but I just don't remember. There are videos here. I just don't. They're probably mentioned elsewhere. They're mentioned elsewhere. There will be videos that can be played. I think I actually unlocked them by playing some of these games. I need to play Ninja Golf at some point. Oh, it's probably down here. Just a second. Demons. Yeah, games aimed at younger players, which makes sense. The whole family will love this one. I'm fairly certain the only people who play this game are myself and my sister. Oh, you can see the price. Okay, this game was only $27. So basically, it's like a Game Boy game. Remember, this was in 1982. Again, inflation was pretty nuts back then. Just so you know what you're dealing with. But you were paying, for the price of what, 4 kilobyte cartridge. This game was probably smaller than most memes and about as deep too. The action is fast and furious. Yeah, 21st century marksman. Well, maybe in the next 80 years there will be some kind of virtual reality game kind of like this. It'll finally happen. It makes learning arithmetic a treat for like elementary school kids. Pennsylvania residents call a different number. I guess they were shipping out those. I guess Atari was shipping out those consoles from Pennsylvania here on the East Coast, which is how we would have gotten it. Yeah, not really impressed. But yeah, it's Demon's. I mean, look, it was a game you played when you were 6, and you played it for 5 minutes, and you moved on to something else. That's the way it was, and we tolerated it. The official Atari handshake. Hide the controls. No, I can't hide it. Hide captions. There we go. Accidentally dislocating their thumbs. Uh, that could be an inappropriate image. We're just gonna move on. So yeah, yeah, not your friends. This is Demons to Diamonds on the Atari VCS, being played on the PS4 as part of the Atari 50 collection. Recorded this audio with my triple driver headphones into my MPOW USB A capture device. Video footage captured at 60 frames a second using the inland USB capture device. I don't even know what it's called. What do they even call this? Inland HDMI video capture device. In fact, and I'm using the Windows 11 dual core laptop with the Windows 11 camera app to record this footage. I should note that you're not going to be able to record this on the PlayStation 4 because when you record the footage on the PlayStation 4, it only captures at 30 frames a second, so the laser cannot be visible in some instances because of the way the laser is displayed on the old Atari. It's displayed at 60 frames a second, so because of the interlacing issue, it means the PlayStation 4 can't capture the footage properly. So basically, you shoot the laser and you can't see it because the frame rate's too low, so you can't see it. The laser appears between the frames, so it's weird. I have to go into more detail about that later, but I'm going to be trying to capture most of this footage on my on my laptop, which can capture at 60 frames a second, and it doesn't drop any frames, so you can actually see all the images that appear as they would have appeared on a regular television from the 1980s.